Sage.
I'm Andrew Smith, and today we're going to get into second homes and investment properties. One of the questions that comes up many times, because a lot of the programs out there, you talk about HAFA, and you've got these cooperative short sale programs and all of this. Most of it is centered around primary residences.
Right, owner-occupied.
Owner-occupied primary residences. So one of the questions that comes up is, okay, well, I have a second home, I have a vacation home, I've got an investment property, but I'm hurting. I can't keep this up anymore. Can I, in fact, qualify to do a short sale?
Yeah, number one, they have to have a need to sell, just like a regular short sale. They have to have a need to sell, then they're going to have full disclosure on their financials to show that they have a financial situation, or it's possible, I haven't seen it that often, but it's possible that they don't have a financial situation, but they have a need to sell for one reason or another.
Yeah, there could be something going on. It might be, not necessarily related to the mortgage payments, but it could be in an area where another assessment, a tax assessment has come due, or there's an HOA assessment against the property, or there's something that's adding a cost to it.
Yeah, maybe there was
becomes prohibitive.
Yeah, like maybe there was an earthquake or a tornado or something that caused damage, and the insurance isn't going to cover all of it, or there's some kind of need to have to get rid of that property. That's the number one thing.
Number one thing, but the bottom line on that is, just because it's a second home or an investment property doesn't necessarily exclude them from participating in a short sale. So they can't go HAFA, but the bank are still going to look at the situation, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to look at it as a standard short sale, more times than not, and then they're going to, again, full disclosure, they're going to see, is there a tenant in the property now? Is the tenant making payments to you right now? So on and so forth.
Or if it's just maybe it's in a vacation area and it's not necessarily a tenant.
Correct.
It could be short-term rentals. Could be something like that, but the economy is such that the revenue from the rentals is down, and without that it's causing a problem. There's several different scenarios that are in play that would actually make that seller eligible to participate in a short sale with the bank. But you touched on something there that's pretty key. If it was an investment property and you have a tenant in it, and that tenant has a lease, and now you're in trouble.
Well, here's the big thing for me, and I'm really about the integrity behind it. I understand that life happens, and unfortunately I'm not going to pick on investors because I love investors. I work with a lot of them, and they're all pretty darn integrity based. But what we're seeing happening right now is some of these investors are taking the rent and not making their mortgage payment, and then saying, oh, woe is me, I have a hardship.
Right.
Okay? So, the big thing for me that really hits home is that if you are an investor or you're a homeowner that has a second home and you're doing a partial rental, is communicate with your tenant and let them know what you're doing.
Exactly.
That you're in a situation where you can't maintain this property. I've yet to find a tenant get upset at the fact that they're making payments and there may be a foreclosure. I've seen quite the opposite, where the tenant's like, well, I'm glad you told me because I don't want to come home one day and have padlock on the front door.
Exactly.
And remember, the tenant is still obligated to make their lease payments every month because of the contract that they have.
But, just as you say that, isn't it also true that if you are the landlord, as part of that contract, you're also promising that you're going to be providing a place that the tenant can actually rent?
That's correct, and that comes back to communication. I think that if an investor or someone that owns a property with a tenant in there, they're communicating and saying, listen, I'm having a hard time with this. I might have to sell this on a short sale. Can I get your cooperation and showings? And a big thing for me is this: if you're going to sell on a short sale and we get this thing approved, give that tenant 30 days notice, keep them in the loop. As an agent myself, I absolutely keep in touch with the tenant, but I want the homeowner also to keep in touch, and then let them out of the lease.
There's something that you just touched on there that it just realized to me there's a common theme between all of our videos and in all of the topics we've covered, whether it be divorce, whether it be how income is classified, whether it be communication with the bank or the tenant. It's that word, communication. It all comes down, again, to communicating with the parties involved and letting them know what's going on.
Yeah, constantly. I mean, even in friendships or relationships, if there's no communication, then it breaks down. Yeah, and it goes away. So communicate that. If you get the tenant's cooperation, right, you're going to get that property sold. You're going to be doing the right thing by allowing them out of their lease. Give them their darn deposit back that they gave you in good faith that you were going to provide housing for them for that period of a lease. And then hopefully you haven't created any kind of friction. The last thing you want to do is not communicate, have the home foreclosed upon, and then all of a sudden here comes the new owner of the home, be it the bank or investor that bought it, and now they've got to deal with getting that tenant out, and then you could be in a situation where you were keeping the money, not making your mortgage payment and rent skimming.
Yeah, and that can be a whole other liability issue. So again, communication is key. But yes, if you have an investment property, you have a second home that you're in trouble with, you can absolutely participate in a short sale.
Yeah.
Again, just if it is occupied by a tenant, communicate with them, let them know what's going on. Otherwise, consult someone in your area that's very familiar with short sales. They can guide you on the process. And again, full disclosure, full disclosure, full disclosure, and there must be a need to sell.
Absolutely. Communicate and full disclosure. That's really the foundation of these short sales.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, as always, s2neg.com with any comments or questions you have. Make it a great day.
Thanks for stopping by.